And welcome to another episode of Giving a Hoot with Ryan and Luke.
Which we apparently still do.
Yeah, we are here giving a hoot.
I would say this is
We
probably those weeks that are a true test of fandom, right? Like,
yeah,
especially when you've had a team. I mean, we were just talking before we got on. This is a team I know in only not 3 full seasons, but has never finished below second. So, but has not had faced a ton of adversity. So I think it's definitely a test to see how fandom reacts to everything.
yeah. No, I mean we've had some challenging stretches before, both seasons, but I think this is one that's testing it. And no,
Oh
we
yeah.
we haven't done a official pod in 4 games. Camille and I jumped on for live pod. What was that after? That after Tucson?
I
I
think
can't
so.
remember.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's all
yeah,
this 11-day stretch all kind of blurred together at some point.
yeah, and I'm sure it did for the guys. But we do have some news. Since it's been 2 weeks, JP made Team of the Week for his performance against Tucson.
Yeah.
The lone bright spot, besides the lightning in the distance.
Good one.
And then JP made Team of the Week again, despite us only getting 1 point off of 2 games there for performances against his brace against Richmond.
Yeah, for sure.
And his performance against Greenville. And was that Corey who was also Team of the Week for his 100th goal?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, that would make sense. A guy that scores 100th goal in USL probably.
Well,
Or his whole
100th professional career goal. So
yeah, I mean,
he,
as much time as he's spent in USL between Championship and League One now,
yeah,
it wouldn't surprise me if the USL is like, hey, let's put this guy on Team of the Week for that accomplishment happening while he plays in one of our leagues.
Yeah, I mean it well deserved by both the guys.
For sure.
No, tough week, but they've really been they really stepped up. Personal Team of the Week for player of the 4 games for me. Well, I guess two players of the 4 games, Dion and DK. So
Yeah,
Dalton and Dion have done some amazing work. Great to see Touche back full against Richmond. Started
good.
against Richmond and been playing. Still looks a step behind, but I mean, to be expected when you get your leg chopped in half by a goalpost.
Exactly. I mean, all things considered, that's the best I could think he would look. With what we thought was a broken leg. I mean, so
yeah, I thought that was going to be a compound fracture. The way everybody is reacting. All right, we're not going to break down each of the games because 1 point out of 4 games, that's dog shit, and nobody got time for that. I do not have enough alcohol in my house for that.
That's fair. I do, however, but
well, that's the benefits of your wife working for an alcohol distributor.
It 100% is.
Let's talk about, well, I posed this question to the Media Empire Discord, and do we hit the panic button?
Yeah, so my response on there, I'll start there, which is I'm not going to until I see what happens between Greenville and NoCo on Saturday. Because for one thing, depending on how results fall, we could, without having to play Saturday, we can technically clinch the playoff still. I know you and I agree the way we've played over these 4 games, we don't look like a playoff team or a team that would deserve the ability to play at that level. Obviously, where we are points wise and where we are in the table for the whole, it's a whole season accomplishment, not a 4 game accomplishment. Um, but I mean, I think that if I just have this feeling that if Greenville can beat NoCo, which puts them 2 points above us in the table, we are going to be scrambling to try and get 9 out of 9 points. And I don't know if this team's mentally strong enough to get 9 points out of the next 3 games.
Yeah.
You pointed out on our Discord that we have lost the majority of our losses have not been to top tier teams. And I think that's the biggest concern considering who we have left on the schedule.
And Kyle Reisman of the hashtag Data Dive on WGHmedia.com. Great articles when those are out. Now keep an eye on our Twitter. It's where we broadcast when those are dropped, or subscribe to our website. What he said there, it makes a lot of sense. Is yes, those were 2 bottom tier teams in the worst conditions. You know, we're dealing monsoon season in Tucson. That game didn't end until 2:30 Central Time. No, after it was supposed to start at 7 p.m. Pacific, didn't end until 12:30 Pacific. Like
that's insane.
That just, when you've got a game to play on Wednesday against the top tier or top team, at that point, Richmond sitting top of the table there, that's not great. I mean, less than 72 hours, including a flight, any delays that come with associated rehab time there.
Yep.
Like, and as we've discussed, we don't have the depth. And then NoCo, a torrential downpour, 50 degrees at altitude. Like, not, I see what Kyle's saying, and I don't want to give the guys excuses because I expect more out of them.
Yeah.
I expect more out of them, especially considering our Open Cup run. We were at least squeaking by with draws. We weren't losing every game there.
True.
And this is a tough schedule. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. Tucson, I've always thought is a dangerous team, even as they're sitting last in the table. NoCo is a team I thought is overhyped, but you know, they're still dangerous.
Yeah, they're sitting 7th, right? I mean, they're people dropping points and them getting a couple wins away from squeaking into the playoffs in their first season. I mean, they're not that their match against or that match that Madison played last that was just last night, wasn't it? Oh my God, that's how long this has felt. But those points being dropped by Madison, and NoCo getting those points, I mean, that's kept them that spot above Madison. They're right on that edge of getting to be a playoff team, and that's why it's like, I mean, that 4 game stretch was brutal because I think I think we all kind of had Tucson where maybe NoCo really is, and we had NoCo where Tucson is. And so, but either way, it was a 4 game stretch with 3 teams that potentially could be playoff teams that we had to play in a row, coming out of that. And I think my thing about April or May, a stretch like this, I would give the guys a little bit more slack because it's early in the season. We had a younger team. We had new guys to the league. They're learning the league. That was yesterday was our 27th league game this season. And that if you throw in our run to the final 8 of the US Open Cup, these guys have played over 30 games this season already. Now, that may be part of what contributes to tired legs or whatever else, but also what's expected of you. You know what is being asked of you. And maybe that's where Camille brought up a few times with us. maybe that's where tactic and formation changes and stuff like that over the last few games, and because of injuries, have maybe hurt this team. Um, where you can't put it all on the guys.
Yeah, like I I don't want to make excuses for the guys because that's become a mainstay of Omaha fandom.
Yeah.
It's the refs, it's condensed schedule, which is caused by baseball or whatever
Mm-hmm.
else. Like so many things there. Um, I get where we're at in with 4 games in 11 days. That's tough regardless of your level. Um, college, pro, first tier, second tier, third
Mm-hmm.
tier, international. That is tough.
It's a
Uh,
lot, yeah.
our depth isn't there.
Oh.
Um,
And it's even worse.
we've had 2 season-ending injuries with Isaac and Gio. Gio didn't get a chance to show how much he could shine, but I I know him being there from the beginning of the season versus Corey, Louise, Shaft. Like those guys are fantastic players,
Oh, for
but
sure.
having somebody who went through preseason, built that camaraderie there, gets that chemistry going from the start to the end of the season is something
Mm-hmm.
that's you can't replace. And that being said, Corey, Luis, Shaft have come in and done everything they can to build themselves into this
Mm-hmm.
roster. And I see them meshing so much better each day.
For sure.
But it's hard to say where Gio would have been at the same point. Um,
Yeah.
Isaac is one that I think we can all agree on has not been replaced. Dion has been doing an amazing job, but Dion is a midfielder forward. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's doing well at defense, but he's not a
Well,
defender.
and until we signed Shaft,
Yeah.
we had a mixture of guys we rotated at that spot because we didn't have, and nor have we had in 3 seasons, true fullback depth. And I mean, even our left back, who has been playing very, very well, has never played left back before. I mean, Jay turned him into one, which is really
Well,
a winger role.
so looking at our lineup that we had against in the back against Northern Colorado, you had Dion, Alex, Dalton, and Jiva.
Yep.
Dion's been nursing an injury all season. Uh, Touche just came back from uh, being carted off the field at
Mm-hmm.
Richmond, um, and then being thrown into 3 games in a week. And Jibo was out for a few games with an
Mm-hmm.
injury. Like 3 of our starting back 4 have had injuries recently or
Yep.
continuing injuries. Dalton picked up what looked like he was seeing Tweety Bird going around his head.
Yeah,
Like,
they were doing the old finger, follow my finger,
yeah.
all the concussion. He must have been
I
okay
mean,
because they let him continue, but
yeah, but I mean, it looked like Dalton didn't know whether to look at the finger or pull it. I mean, uh, uh of this 4 game stretch, like we can talk highlights there.
yeah.
What are your lowlights?
So piling on, since I'm pretty sure he's hurt, since Shido didn't make the bench for Noko. But I think some of the things that we've always kind of worried about with Rashid, some of the decision making of going after a ball, um, some of the playing with the ball at his feet when it was better to just pick the ball up initially and not, try and Cruyff turn people in the box all the time. I think some of that stuff, because of what we just talked about with not having a solid back line, some of that stuff's starting to come back and bite us. Richmond's second goal, the ball was going across the box. Shido halfway came out for it, kind of tried to scramble back, got himself caught in no man's land, and there was nothing he was going to do. But if he had either stayed on his line and let his defense do something, or just jumped on that ball and smothered it, one of those two decisions is better than not making a half decision. Um,
Uh,
the
I
jump. The
mean,
other thing I was going to bring up is the jump against Greenville, which led to allegedly Connor fouling somebody. And we can talk about those two penalties that weren't penalties because both of those were BS. But the fact that Shido went up for the ball to try and completely missed grabbing the ball and left Connor even in a position where Connor had to try and box out and let the ball roll through the box, which caused the legs to be tangled and caused the foul to be called. If Shido stays on his line and lets his defense and apparently his captain, who's back playing in the box, if he lets them help him clear the ball and he stays on his line, we may not give up that penalty and you win that game 1-0.
so low lights for me. 7 seconds, goal.
Fair.
Emir just getting beat. Like Shido had some great opportunities throughout that game for some good saves, but 7 seconds in, you got to be on your toes. And I understand you've been in a locker room for 2.5 hours at I can't even remember what sort of shared facility Tucson runs in. It's a nice one, but it's like it's definitely not, Werner Park level locker rooms where you got comfy. You're not enjoying yourself in those locker rooms. That was major low light. The rest of that game just kind of, that just got worse and worse. Except, of course, as mentioned, JP, who had a stellar game, the only person on the team who had a stellar game that time.
For sure.
Against Richmond, well, honestly, Richmond, Noco, and Greenville giving up late goals. Oh my God. Like that. Tired legs speaks to some of it, but we can't use that excuse. You need to rotate. You need to.
I was like, two of those goals were unprotected back post. I mean, open headers on the back post off of a corner. That's not necessarily tired legs. That might be tired mind, but that's missing your assignment.
Wait. Do we want to break into the back post talk already? Because I've got some words on this.
I mean, it kind of plays into another low light that came to my head, which is the fact that against Richmond, credit to EVD not celebrating against his former team. So we at the Empire have always been big fans of Ethan. He's a great guy. He had a bad string of luck here when it came to injuries and everything else, but he was always a big part of that team. But he scores one of the open headers from the back post, and then freaking Nathan Ani is the one that draws the penalty and I'm like, why did it have to be two former Union Omaha guys?
I mean, the only part that kills me is that Christian wasn't on the bench to sub on and score the third. Like, I mean, shit. Like, if we're really getting screwed, like, might as well be like a full former Omaha screw. Like,
you know what? Here's the thing, though. Richmond somehow wins the playoffs this year and wins the championship. We can go ahead and tell them you're welcome, since we sent 3 former Owls to be a part of that squad, all of which have championship rings from this. 2 of which have championship rings from here. The other one
Yeah.
was on a second place team. So hey, there you go, Richmond. That's grasping at
Uh,
straws tonight. That's what I'm doing.
yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
All right. Um, this back post issue.
God.
You mentioned it for defense, offense.
Hmm.
Um, how many times, especially against NoCo, but how many times against all three teams has a cross been there, and we've
Yep.
got nobody making the back post run? Like
It.
my high school coach would have beat me with a stick by now.
Yeah,
Like,
that's where I was worried for Dion last night. To be honest, I messaging on it. I said Dion's gonna pull a hammy because he kept making those runs, and then he went down, and I was like, oh my bad. Um, the thing that kills me is Jay has found not only guys that can play wing, but guys that really can play wing and defense. I mean, Dion Ryan, Shaft can track back. Shaft has to be the fastest guy in the league right now. I mean, he's a blazer.
I,
But
I'd love for him to wear a monitor for a game just to see how fast he goes.
no, I mean, it's insane how much ground he makes up. And I just only tend to have one guy in the box when these crosses are going in. Now, I'll give our guys credit that are crossing it. We've stopped trying the, in the air crosses. There's a lot more ground crosses. Um, Kamal scuffed the one. I mean, absolutely just shanked it. And you can see, I don't want to pile on Kamal because you could see it on his face. He knew. He knew as soon as that ball left his foot, he was like, I messed this up. Was it Corey that missed a sitter? I mean, we just had a couple in that NoCo game that was like, what are we doing, guys? I
I
just, yeah,
I th-
I don't know.
I think you and I are agreed that all three seasons, this team, the 2022 team, has the most raw talent.
Absolutely. Yeah,
But it's very key to use the word raw,
for sure.
because while you bring in veterans like Louise and Corey, um, Kamal, Chivani, like, and plus our returners. Yep, that's great. But you've got so many of these young guys like Jiba, like Mesa. This is
Hmm.
their first year pro.
For sure.
Burrito, first year pro. Like, they haven't hit their full stride yet, and
No.
I I hope the Open Cup run doesn't get them cocky or get their agents cocky and send them up too soon, because I think another year of those guys at Union Omaha or a third division team, not NISA, uh, will just
I
open up
agree.
so much potential for them. Uh, here's maybe the closest I guess I probably have to a hot take tonight. Uh, on average, the team in 2022 should be a top two contender.
Hmm.
The way we've played, I'm going to throw this honestly, the past 6 games at this point.
Yeah.
Even coming back with the player down games, like we're not a playoff team.
Yeah.
Like if the team had been playing this way the entire season, I think we'd be sitting lower than Tucson, lower than Fuego.
Probably.
Like the way the guys as a whole are playing, it it doesn't look like if we make a playoff game, if somehow we make a home playoff game, which is something that seems to be slipping away. We'll see how the results turn out this
Hmm.
weekend. That might happen. Not super convinced of it, but might happen. If that does, I don't see anything happening, and I really hope I'm wrong on this.
The key here is, though, we will get looking below fourth, and third and fourth still gets you at least one home playoff game. Now, that also means, though, that your semifinal game is for sure on the road, because you're either going to the second place team or the first place team, depending on if you're third or fourth, if you win that match. So you still get a home play. I don't see us slipping below fourth, just because points wise and where everybody's at, that might be a little bit difficult. And considering we don't even have to play on Saturday and we can still clinch playoff, that's saying something. We at least know after Saturday, we'll know if we can slip below sixth or not. I think that this is where Jay, being a former college coach, this is where he flexes those recruiter muscles. And you go to those players, you go to those agents, and you say, "Hey, I had Evan Conway. Evan needed an extra season in Omaha, and now he's in San Diego. I got Greg Hurst here, who used an extra year to catapult himself to Phoenix."
Quick jump to friend of the pod, Greg Hurst.
Yeah.
Amazing equalizing goal for Phoenix last night against what was that, Monterey Bay?
Yeah,
but
continues to impress.
That was so good there, and a team that doesn't impress, he's doing so well. So hate your Rangers, but great job, Greg.
The fact that Greg Hurst played for this team even for one season still blows my mind, because chat just did him so dirty. That's all I got to say. But Dami, while he had a fantastic 2020, he became a completely different level in 21, and now in 22 is starting for a team that made the U.S. Open Cup final. We have a pattern of taking younger guys that, now Greg wasn't with us both seasons, but needed those guys that needed that one more season at our level to really just learn how to be a true pro, and turned it into getting them that contract and championship and moving up. And I think that's where Jay flexes that. He recruited UNO. He knows what it takes to kind of win guys over that way. And I think that's your pitch. Hey, Ryan, you did a fantastic job this season at left back. Guess what one more season at left back will do for you? It'll make you that much better. Joe Brito,
Well, I want it to be that simple. But a lot of these first year guys, and this is something that I want to see more of throughout USL, but I'm not convinced ownership is there, the financial means are there. Once a guy is represented, and this should be the case across USL, with a CBA being recognized and bargained for at the USL 1 level. Currently, it's only at the USL C level. There is the recognized player union for USL, the USLPA, but it's not. There's no CBA in place.
Right.
But whether or not we're willing to meet what other clubs would offer for these guys to go to the bench.
True.
And there's a certain point where, you can make the argument of your development here is going to be better than sitting on the bench at a championship side. But when you're, 18 to 24 and somebody's offering you 30 grand more a year, I mean, hell, 30 grand more a year for just about anybody is.
Yeah. I don't, this is not to dog Devin, because I have a real huge affinity for Devin boys, but look what happened to Devin. I mean, it wasn't a great fit for him. He ends up not playing a whole lot. I mean, so while yes, their agent should be doing that for them. Hopefully, some of these guys to look at this and go, play. I mean, anytime you're playing the sport that you're trying to become better at, the more you play. This is why the loan system in Europe is so popular. Take a really young guy, send them to a lower league team or abroad somewhere else. Even to like a team like in the Dutch league or what. Send them somewhere else and let them get regular. Yeah, that's right. Ajax, baby. Although they just bring their own young guys up, they don't need to loan guys up. But send them. You get these guys experience, and they, even if it's at a lower level, if they're playing at a high professional level in general, and they're playing week in and week out, it's better for them than sitting on the bench and just going to training. Training only gets you so far.
I hate to do this, but I also love to do this because I just pulling the Ajax thing in and looking at how different soccer football is now versus it was 10 years ago in the US and internationally. Today, Remco Pasveer at 38 and 11 or like 10, 11 months got his first ever call up to the senior Dutch national team
100%,
and then got a first ever start against a Poland that was starting Robert Lewandowski and got a clean sheet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like
for sure.
It was brought in as a third option for Ajax in the 21 season due to Onana's backup, drug,
all kinds of sitchies,
whatever deal, and Schellenberg getting injured, comes in. These guys are in our league are looking at it as, okay, yeah, I'm not making a whole lot, but I think you're not finding anybody in our league unless they're on the retirement track that doesn't want to make first division. And while maybe the 38, 39-year-old level is not the same for a midfielder, for a striker, at the same time, you're seeing 27, 28-year-olds starting to getting their first year contract in Europe. You're seeing that in the MLS level. There's time. Get your starts in, because you can tell a guy who's ridden the bench at all the best clubs in the world and never had a start versus a guy who's gotten starts and fought their way through everything and gets a lucky break. Get the starts, get the playing time.
So we've made this about Ajax already, so I'm just going to keep this train going. The Eredivisie.
I threw it to the Dutch national team too.
True, but so the Eredivisie though, that and League One can emulate of let's have guys like the Connors, or I'm going to use an Ajax comp. You have a guy like Daley Blind. He starts at Ajax. He goes to Manchester United, gets that big league contract. It doesn't work out. Where does he go back to? He goes back to Ajax. He switches positions while he's there now, but that's fine. And now he's a regular starter for them again, and one of the most invaluable players on that team because he fits that level. That's what he needs. But he got the chance to go abroad. Go ahead.
Well, and him coming back, he under Van Gaal, who is really shaking up the Dutch national team, gets his international starts there. And again, we're throwing this to Ajax. Watch Ajax, people. Just do it. It's on ESPN Plus.
It's fun.
You've been listening to this probably for 3 seasons at this point. You should do it. But Brian Brobby,
Brian Brobby,
perfect example of guy who thinks they can go off, do something amazing. Jumps Bundesliga for, what was that, Leipzig?
Yeah, cup of coffee.
Yeah. Jumps over there, gets half a season on the bench, gets loaned back to Ajax, and then begs to come back, like shows up to the first day of training in the Bundesliga wearing an Ajax jersey as a to and his old club buys him back for stupid amounts of money because the transfer market is broken. Just saying, the European transfer market's broken. Pay more for our players, like a lot more.
Yeah.
But
Well, and I mean, but you get guys like Anthony, you're right, that are young players. They cut their teeth. They cut their teeth at a team like Ajax though, and they turn it into a big contract and to go on. And that's the stuff that I think, like, Dami needs to be our guy that Jay uses as the poster boy of, look, give me 2 seasons with you. Look what I did with Dami. And if Dami is still next year, I was shocked. They got him on next.
so Dami, yes, there. But I think looking at Evan as well. Evan having 2 seasons with Union Omaha in a consistent spot where, I mean, for the first season, he was essentially our lone striker. You can tout Elma, Elfier. Who else do we have as striker first year? Juan Mare. None of them did what Evan did. You throw Evan with Greg year 2, and holy shit, like he's done well. His contract ended with us. We didn't get the transfer fee, which I think is another thing where when we're signing contracts, get the multi-year. Not only is that better for the player getting that job security, but at the same time, it's better for the club when you do hit the success. Like, make it option years rather than just straight contract. Because I mean, you're third division, but get that in, because we missed out on transfer fees that we could have really reset the market with more than just Dami. But had we really set a precedent with Evan, had we set one with Devin, like Greg, and I'm sure most of these guys didn't want to sign more than that. You get a lot of clubs that get very selfish and want to hold on to players. I think Union Omaha has shown at this point, especially under Jay Mims. Hopefully, we get another season of Jay. As crazy as his ideas about tactics are, but you get that to a point where we see guys trusting the system. And I think that's something that will come from things like the Bellevue partnership, coming from good, solid coaching, not things like happened in Chattanooga, where apparently there was an abusive coach. Not teams that are in it to sell you to a crap team for pittance. You're making less money at another team because they sold your contract. Like, so many things need to come together for USL to succeed, and it's an inch away.
It is, and it's something. I mean, when last season, when we right before the final and stuff, and we had like Gary and those guys on, and we're sitting there talking with people from the league about how that's that next step they want to get to, and they're bringing people in to help educate these owners about what transfer fees mean and why operating on a different calendar may be helpful for you to be able to operate within this transfer market to then be able to make some money off of some of these guys. Because at this point, if a guy gets sold, they're getting sold in the middle of the summer, which is literally in the middle of our season, and most teams are not willing to lose a guy halfway through the season.
Well, here's the other thing that I think USL could really do to differentiate themselves from the ML dollar sign. Hey, hey, we're doing this here.
Hashtag facts.
International breaks. There are enough guys from both Championship and USL one being called up. Had Hurricane Fiona not devastated Puerto Rico, which if you follow Ricky Rivera on Instagram, he's put up a number of great resources to help out the island of Puerto Rico. Please visit those, donate if you can.
Absolutely.
But Ricky was due to go play an international match in Miami. And called off. Like there were, I think, 6 or 7 Puerto Rican affiliated players called up from the USL that
That's awesome.
Didn't go, but 35 players from both Championship and League One that did get called up to international camps. We've had Yoskar, who's gone. Kamal and Shivani have both played for the national team in Jamaica. Ricky's a regular top scorer there for Puerto Rico. Wish Jay would give him some time with us, but maybe not throw Touche up as a striker and bring Ricky along and throw him in. But I think that it stays there of like there's so much to differentiate the league, and we've really gone off topic because we're trying to bring some positivity into this podcast, and so we had to talk.
Did you and Camille talk about that partnership with the Caribbean on your live thing? I
don't think we did. And we also didn't have news about the Harlem team coming in by 2026.
So, the only reason I'm thinking of this is what you're bringing up now about international breaks and a lot of these guys getting called up is having that partnership with them, which may help with refs. I think is going to help quite a bit, hopefully, with getting players from those areas and making the transition and the approval by the federation a little bit easier. Go ahead.
I'm going to pause you on refs because in the off season we're going to bring on a professional ref, not PRO, but we're going to bring on a professional ref to talk about the challenges there. So teaser for a month and a half in the future, but
I love it.
I want that take because as you're saying, like creating CONCACAF, because CONCACAF is being used as a verb for bullshit, essentially.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, when bad things happen and they say you got CONCACAF, that's not a great thing. But I mean, even my hope would be that the rumors we heard about why Isaac, it took a minute for Isaac to get going. I think even with Shivani a little bit, we kind of had some bumps in the road where maybe having a partnership with that helps with some of the visa issues and some of those things, because if it's a built-in business relationship, that may change some of the international laws around some of those things. Um, I don't know. I don't know enough about immigration law and that type of stuff to be completely uh, honest about this. But
Well,
yeah,
also another
I mean,
plug
what
for
do you
the
think?
league. Another plug for the league news. They're currently hiring counsel. So if you know a unemployed lawyer, unlikely. If you
How about an
you know,
underpaid lawyer?
underpaid, well, I'm not sure League One's gonna or USL is gonna pay better, but either way, I think the league could put a mechanism in there to help clubs
Mhm.
through the process, help players that are uh, being offered contracts through that process, and the same thing with the USL Players Association. Once the
Sure.
paperwork for the promise of a contract, agreements are made, and it's just waiting on a visa, I think
Hmm.
there would be a huge boon for partnership between the Players Association and the league, because anytime you bring in a quality international player to play in this league, that's a new viewer base. That's more monetary revenue chances to come in
100%.
to really help that. Uh, at the same time, on the player side, on the ref side, like if you're sharing refing techniques that work on these crap fields that are being used uh, in Colorado or wherever else, but sharing techniques and skills that you're learning at a faster pace um, environment in Caribbean, you know that's beneficial because any I always look at a share of information as being beneficial, whether you take everything and use it, or whether you have that information in your pocket as
Yeah.
uh, rowdier fans in one place, or how to account for a field that's going to have divots, or football lines or cricket lines, or whatever you're dealing with, and how best to understand that.
Yeah, for sure.
uh last bit of USL news, because it's late and we've had 4 games in 11 days, and
We said we were only gonna go 30 minutes.
yeah, we're dirty liars to ourselves and to our wives.
Fair.
Yeah, yeah. Harlem. I forget what the name of the club in Harlem is, but is
Yeah, I don't know.
announcing a USL One expansion side by 2026. Doesn't list that will launch in 26, but it will launch by 2026. So in my mind, that's probably a 24, 25,
Mhm.
which is one more to tack on. Not a Western team. We're still looking to fill in the West, but a huge benefit there. Still have not heard official from USL Portland, USL Spokane. I've seen photos of them pouring structures
Yep.
for everything. In true South Georgia fashion, photos have been put up on various places. Thanks, Jackson. Um, of mobile mobile classroom, mobile home style locker rooms at the South Georgia um, new stadium that's launching in a week and a half. Um, hopefully, don't get a late season hurricane that blows all of that progress away. But that's
Then
yeah.
wasn't didn't Tulsa tweet and say they're back?
No, Tulsa never left. Um,
Was it Tulsa?
OKC.
Who was it that left? OKC. They're back, right?
OKC. they're back, but their championship. The conspiracy theorists up in Madison, I believe that was Kyle Carr, uh, who put that out there, that he's expecting them to drop to 1, which would make sense, especially with rumors around Midwestern cities like Wichita, Sioux Falls, Corpus Christi. I mean, Corpus Christi is not Midwest, but in the middle of the country,
Right. Yeah.
Coming to League One. Those are some great options. You've got Lexington, Knoxville, both of those coming to League One. Fort Wayne, TBD. We'll see.
We don't know.
A lot of expansion news. We're getting towards the off season, so we all know that's going to pick up. We've got some great content coming for you from all levels. Make sure you're subscribing to our Instagram as well as the website for written news. We should have some, probably at this point, off-season editorials, but a lot of more business-minded, USL business-minded, US soccer landscape-minded articles coming out to kind of discuss where Union Omaha fits in there. Hopefully have some, I know we do have some good guests coming up. We just need to nail down the times and weeks for those, but we'll have some fun interviews for you as well here on the pod. Yeah. So, Ryan, one question for you. Who gives a hoot? We do.